Start. Today's still on hold. Okay, that's good.
No, you're on stop recording.
There we go. And that's perfect.
Test.
Good.
Test.
That was really weird.
Have some more Pepsi.
Okay, I had started right there,
Oh, that's why. Okay, there you are.
but it doesn't have the screen.
Can you not watch right there?
Yeah, no,
Okay,
I can.
all right. That's what I was just.
Oh, okay. I thought I needed the screen.
No.
No, there's something you have to hit up there to get that upper part off.
Yeah, I will.
You know how to
Arrow.
do that?
Yeah, it's a little
Yeah,
arrow.
it's just this little thing.
So
right
if
there.
you happen to get crazy with your thing out, you just hit that orange button
If I get crazy?
with your mouse, you know, when you're
if
doing
it opens
it.
up, if it opens up again and becomes
Okay.
big like this, just hit that.
Me get crazy?
Mm-hmm.
I know that never happens. I'm just.
Oh, you're in. That's why you're in the wrong one.
Oh.
That's what's going on.
Takes a village. 8 Polacks to screw in a white light bulb. 1 to hold the light bulb and 8 to turn the ladder. That's a little bit echoey.
You turn it down.
Echoey. Test.
It's going to be on it,
test.
so she'll be able to see the participants are seeing. So if there's any issues. It's still not working.
There it is. There you go. All right. There you go.
So how many minutes? Where does it say minutes? How much? It usually tells us how much time we have left.
I don't know. I'll let you know.
How do you know?
I don't know.
Yeah, but it usually says on there.
Where does it say how much time is left?
Usually has a thing that says.
Once you start the broadcast, is that when it happens?
No, it usually says so much time to the broadcast.
Well, you'll be able to start it from there. Yeah, you'll have to start it from there. And then you'll have to, yeah, you've already got it recording, so that's good.
Then you have to hit recording. It says
Yeah,
stop.
it's already ready, so.
So as soon as you start broadcast, it starts recording?
Yeah.
Is it 50
So what if
minutes
I
an
didn't
hour?
make it in here? You'd have to do this morning. You'd have to, I was thinking about that when I came in the door. This is
Is it 50 minutes or an hour?
What's that?
The webinar usually, is it 1 full hour? Do we know?
Going out,
I'd say this is 55 minutes today.
Okay, I'm doing 55 minutes, so what time is it? Let's see.
Ready? You going?
It's not quite 8. You have
And
any-
what we need to
It's
do, you can either come in,
Okay.
but,
She wants me on my computer.
well, that's what I mean. But we need to close that door just in case the phone rings.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
I don't want to shut you out
No,
now.
no. I'm on the computer.
Okay.
All right, are you ready to go?
How many minutes?
I think it's fine.
Okay.
Okay, hang on, let me get it started.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
You ready? Good morning. Welcome to another webinar from the Schuster Center and from and me. I'm Dr. Michael Schuster. I'm always excited to do these things. You know, you only have an hour, so you really got to move along. So I hope you're seated comfortably, and just to share with you that in a short period of time, all these webinars are going to be up on our website, so people will be able to go to them and view them again and again should they wish. And so here we go. Basically, this is a series of webinars that I have created that are really from the science of creating wealth, which are designed to help you, as well as all of us, create a practice in life that's emotionally satisfying, spiritually fulfilling, and financially rewarding and abundant. And oftentimes people will say to me, I'll be at meetings, and even consultants will come up to me, and other people will say, well, why do you always talk so much about money? And I said, well, certainly we're a lot more about money at the center and my own belief system, but unless you do get control of it, you'll never get beyond it. You'll get stuck there. And I remember years and years ago, and I've quoted it thousands of times, when Dr. Pankey told us as a young dentist, he says, you'll never be the dentist you have potential of becoming until you're financially independent. And I translated that into at least to create a plan for financial independence that is something we need to think about and be aware of. So when I created this title, I did it with some really significant thought and intent. The word science means something that's proven and predictable and reliable. And certainly in our work as dentists, we need procedures, we need strategies, we need techniques that are proven and reliable so that we can count on them. And that's what this system is. It's a system of creating wealth. Creating needs to be discussed. The word creating simply means, the way I translate it and the meaning I have, is bringing something into existence that didn't exist before, at least for you. And the last is wealth. And wealth simply means abundance. Wealth isn't simply tied to money, it's tied to having enough. So I want to remind all of you, and this is a good time to just have a reminder, if the destination turns out to be disappointment, then the journey hasn't been worth it. So there are just a few things that will enable you to make the most difference in the outcome of your life. So I've titled this, Making Money Your Friend. So the first question I have for all of you to fill out, or just to say, is money your friend or your foe? Okay? When I conclude this webinar, I'm going to invite you to get on the path of wealth creation. And I like to remind that some are serious now, some are going to become serious later, and some are never going to become serious. So my hope is that this time, as in any time that I spend with you, will benefit you. So keep in mind, we aren't interested in wasting your time, and we don't believe in chasing or manipulating people. And if we aren't 100% convinced that we can help you become a wealth creator, we'll tell you. That's the only and honest thing to do. We also believe that we can't help anyone who isn't motivated and committed to improve the quality of life and the quality of the life of the people they serve. So the first step on the path of wealth creation is what I've called a wealth creation profile. Your positive response at the end of the webinar to our invitation is simply a request to create a wealth creation profile, nothing more. The wealth creation profile will show you whether you're on the path to wealth creation, how far along you are on that path, or whether you're on it or not. So I'd like you to think about this. Look over your last 5 years of dental practice, and somewhere between the $3 to $5 million that you've collected, and ask yourself, how much have you saved? How much do you have left? So you're on a path, like I'm on a path, and everyone's on a path. You're headed in a direction. You're headed in a direction towards a destination. Are you headed for the destination of your choice? Are you on the path? So, let's review. Financial goals. Intentions versus actions. 90% of all the dentists that I interviewed had the following goals. And remember, I interviewed these dentists prior to writing the book, The Science of Creating Wealth. They had a goal to become wealthy by the time they retired. They had a goal to increase their wealth. They had a goal to become wealthy through capital appreciation. And they had a goal to build capital while conserving their assets. Yet only 5% of this group were really taking the actions that were congruent with their intentions. And so most, still over 90% of the people we talk to every day are still living paycheck to paycheck in a reactive or competitive relationship with money. I found that over 90% did not have a plan, that is a thorough, comprehensive plan. They did not have a strategy. They did not have a model in place to provide them with what they needed to get on and stay on the path of wealth creation. Thus, the book, Science of Creating Wealth, and this series of seminars or webinars. Keep in mind that money may not be the most important thing in your life. However, unless you master it, you're still going to become a slave to it. So most wealth creators, that is WCs, agree with these statements. I spend a lot of time planning my financial future. I have an organized system to monitor expenses, personal expenses, taxes, savings, and investments. And I place the management of my family's assets before other leisure activities. Now, this is what wealth creators agreed with, but those in a reactive orientation disagreed with. 1% of dentists retire with more than $4 million of net worth. These statistics are true today. 3% retire with 1 to 3, 30% retire with less than 1 million, and 66% can really never afford to retire and become wards of the Social Security system. Hard to believe, isn't it? So the purpose of a wealth perspective is to help you eliminate a scarcity point of view in your life and practice. Psychologists have proven that as many as 6 repetitions of an idea are necessary before new information becomes a part of your thinking. So when your mind receives your potential for wealth, you take advantage of wealth-building opportunities that surround you. Peace of mind is an essential ingredient to creating wealth. Living in a spirit of the golden rule is essential to enjoyment of wealth. In the end, you're going to be paid for the value you create in others' lives, nothing more. So you can't really fake the golden rule, and neither can I. It goes hand in hand with the laws and principles of creating wealth. So what is the golden rule? I mean, it's been said through thousands of years, and it really means that you should do unto others as you wish them to do unto you if your position were reversed. Financial freedom is the foundational freedom that opens the doors to other freedoms that we went into practice for. Time freedom, relationship freedom, the ability to work with the people we want to work with and on the people we want to work for. And thirdly, purpose freedom. The freedom to make a difference in the world, the freedom to get out of the tyranny of survival and security and self-centeredness, the freedom to have meaning in our everyday work. So financial freedom is this. It's when you never do anything that you don't want to do for money, but you never omit something that you want to do because of a lack of money. Another way of describing financial freedom is that money works for you, you don't work for money. So over the past 40 years of working one-on-one with dentists only, I've observed that negative ideas about survival and security are the ones that hold money problems in place. People with a wealth or abundant consciousness know that money is a very important element in their lives. So they master money so they can get beyond it. The key point, whatever you focus on gets bigger in your life. If you've ever had a problem, if you've ever had something on your mind, you notice that that keeps occupying more and more of your thought process and more of your thinking. Obviously, that can be good or it can be bad. It can be focusing on abundance or it could be focusing on not enough. So the progressive development of wealth consciousness involves practical mastery of the following 5 keys. These are essential. I'm going to spend the most time with the first key. The earnings principle, the golden rule. The savings principle is simply this: save 10% of your income to permanent savings no matter what. The debt principle is to minimize debt. The spending principle is the obvious: spend less than you make. And the investment principle is make it proven, make it simple, make it reliable. So the 5 keys, these are the 5 keys to making money your friend. Save at least 10% of your annual gross revenues, if you're in business, to permanent savings, your annual net revenues after taxes, if you're employed by someone else. Have sufficient liquidity, at least 1 year of your earnings in reserve in cash. Fund pension plans to the optimum level for wealth and to avoid excess taxation. The optimum level for us as dentists is around $250,000 a year. Buy the right house for your budget. That would be no more than, your house would be no more than twice of your after-tax income. Pay off all credit cards and consumer debt. So, this is the one big secret, the one most important thing to make money your friend, and that is to make the commitment to save 10% of your income to permanent savings. I don't care if you write a check every day, every week, or every month, but don't make it any less than every month. The earnings principle is the obvious most important principle. And this is why people mistakenly, it's important, but mistakenly focus too much on production and not enough on net profit. There's cause and effect in everything within the universe. If you believe that working hard will create wealth and abundance, it's more than likely that you came to believe this by watching your parents work. Most people mistakenly work for money and thus set themselves up in a combative relationship with money their entire lives. These people never have enough and rarely make friends with money. Why? Because they're competing with it their entire lives. If you work primarily for money in the past, you've already discovered that money's never enough reward. People who work primarily for money tend to accumulate debt and installment payments looking for things they need to fill the lack of fulfillment in their daily work and lives. Just recently, I talked to 2 dentists. They're in separate practices, with the gross revenues exceeding $3 million between the 2 of them. They're now over $2.8 million in debt, and they have lost all sanity with regards to money. There's a common myth that you have to find the right career or profession to accumulate wealth, the right location, when in reality, I've met people in my life in literally every line of work who are wealthy, and those who are in the same line of work that aren't. There's another common myth that the more education you have, the more assured success of your success in becoming wealthy. There's absolutely no correlation. There's no correlation between education and wealth, not at all. Not one piece in the literature. So this is the most important and common limiting idea to wealth creation, and that is that there is not enough to go around. I've got to get mine before somebody else does. Can you see that this is a competitive relationship with money? This is a scarcity, what I like to refer to below the line thinking, that leads to a life of living below the line. Now this is amazing when you consider that the average of us is going to take in excess of $30 million in our lifetime of practice in today's day and age. And yet still the majority are living below the line in a reactive, not a creative orientation to money. So the earnings principle is that all wealth is created first in the human mind. Okay? Those who are creators create wealth, which is around 5%. Those who are reactive in their life orientation and reactive to money don't. So the key to creating wealth is to learn how to take charge of your thoughts and develop a creative, positive, life-affirming view of the world we live in. Stated another way is creating wealth is increasing the quality of your thoughts, your goals, and enhancing the value you bring to the world. So here's a key point. Money is simply a measure of the value you bring to the world in the form of ideas, products, or services. It is simply a measure of that value. So the idea here is obviously the more value I can bring to the world, the more value you can bring to the world, the more opportunity that we have to create wealth in our lives. So a second key point is that money is nothing but energy. And so in reality, you exchange your life energy and value that you bring to the world for money. One of my favorite quotes was this: I exchanged my life for money. In other words, I exchanged my time for money until I was 44. And then I exchanged money for my life. And that was Ben Franklin. So hard as this point is to accept, it is you and your thinking that is creating what you're getting. Me and my thinking is what puts me in the direction that I'm headed with my life and my practice, and also, I would say, with the center. I remember one time, I wanted to share this. I remember times I was lecturing at the LSU. I was teaching in the LSU aesthetic continuum. And I was driving from the airport to LSU, and the cab driver was taking me through town, and he was saying, you know, there's no money in New Orleans. You know, nobody has any money here. And I looked around as we're driving past all these high-rise buildings, and I said, well, somebody has to have some money here. Somebody built all these buildings. People are going to work. No, there's no money here. And I remember that because, you know, that was his perspective. His outlook was his belief system that there was no money there. So obviously for him there was what? There wasn't any. So you have to think about this. You can spend your life trying to uncover why you think the way you do and why you haven't created wealth. And I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to do that. This will keep you in the negative scarcity below the line thinking. I've got a better plan. I've got a plan that I know works. And I know it works because I've been using this plan and teaching this plan now for better than 30 years. Step one of your plan is to start out with what you want and why you want it. Now, this is really easy for some people. It's more difficult for others. Let me make it a little easier. Take yourself out 5 years from now, better even, take yourself out 10 years from now and say, what would be ideal for me? What would be an ideal for me, a way for me to live my life and conduct myself? So you need to make a list of what you want to have. Those are the material things. They need to make a list of things you want to learn, because obviously if you're going to get what you want, can you do it with what you know now? Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Maybe you got to learn to be a better manager, a better leader. Maybe you got to learn to take some advanced technical courses. Maybe you got to work on the psychological or the communication part. Make a list of what you want to see, the places you want to go, the things you want to do, what you want to end up becoming. You know, so you can have a pretty big list here. And after you've worked on it a while, then break it down to 2 or 3 key things that seem to be the most important for you. Note that creating always begins with a picture, a snapshot of what you want to create, how you want to live, or how you want to be in the future. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, many instances even 20 years from now. So the key point is people who have a clearly defined written goals, vision, often achieve them in 7 years or less. This is amazing. I see this happening over and over again. To create, you must always begin with a destination, an outcome, a picture, a vision of what you want to create. Now, obviously, to create what you want to create and live the way you want to live, you're going to need to have a certain amount of money. I understand that. The second and equally important step is to think seriously and deeply about what you're going to give to get what you want. This is the forgotten step. You've got to focus on what you want to give for what you want. So there are basically 2 kinds of people. They fall into 2 different baskets, buckets, parts of the world. They're givers. They think mostly about what they're going to give. Okay? That is, what is in it for you if you're my patient? What's in it for you if you're a client or student of the center? And then they're getters. These are the people that think mostly about what they're going to get. They're the what's in it for me people, okay? So here's a question, a vital question to think seriously about. Don't take this question lightly. Are you mostly a giver or are you mostly a getter? Look back at your life and answer this question honestly. Now, obviously, there has to be a balance there, you know? There has to be some kind of a balance. It's not just all about giving and not getting, but neither is it also all about getting and not giving. I've been blessed to hang around some really wealthy people, okay? I've had many patients that are wealthy people, and I've had many colleagues that are wealthy people. The wealthiest people I have met spend the majority of their time thinking and planning on focusing on what they're going to give, not on what they're going to get. This is so powerful that some more explanation needs to be expressed. There are givers and there are getters. Givers live above the line. That is, they live in abundance. Getters live below the line. That is, they live in scarcity in the not enough world. Think about how much of your time, your thoughts, your energy, your focus, your resources are taken up in giving versus getting, or getting versus giving. It's your direction, not your intention, that determines your destination. A great, great quote from Andy Stanley's book, Principles of the Path. So it's essential to have the right intention, but it's equally, maybe even more important to have the right actions focused in the direction of your intention, that is your vision. Simply stated, you must organize your practice and your life in the direction of your ideal and dreams. All the energies that you have, you, your people, the systems, the structure, your new patient process, your marketing, your purpose, all is lined up in what you're trying to create. Money simply allows your dreams to become reality. If you don't have the money, you can't bring your dreams into reality. So you start with an ideal practice in life. I suggest both because your practice impacts your life and your life impacts your practice. This is just the way it works. Create wealth and live in abundance requires partners. You can't make it alone. All the available energy resources must be in alignment with your vision or it won't happen. Okay? Your people, your time, your structures, your organization, all your processes need to be in alignment with this. And so to create wealth and live in abundance requires that you love what you're creating. Creating wealth is a process and a journey, not simply a destination. So if you don't love the journey you're on, you're probably on the wrong path for you. If you don't love the journey you're on, you're probably on the wrong path. You'll never create the life you want, and you won't live with an abundant mindset if you don't really love what you're doing. So you got to know your starting point. That's step 2. Whenever you make any trip or journey, you got to have to start at some point. You have to be aware of where you are right now. Peter Senya and Robert Fritz of MIT call this current reality. George Land often suggests that the pull of the future has to be stronger than the gravity of the past. This is why it's so vitally important to dream again as you did when you were a little kid. It's important to create your ideal life in practice. And it's vitally important to focus on the picture of what you want to create in your life. Remember, 90% react, that's a fact. Fewer than 10% create, that's a fact. So I think it's closer to around 95%. Now, what I mean by this is we all create and we all react. It's just that it's where is the predominant orientation of our lives. If the predominant orientation is one of creating, then you'll be bringing things into existence that didn't exist for you before. If your predominant thought process or orientation is reacting, you're going to be problem solving and doing little tactics and little techniques all your life. You'll do a couple things, and you'll advance a little bit, and then you'll slip backwards. You do a couple things, and you'll advance a little bit, and you'll slip backwards. It's also incredibly important, as I said, to love the picture you have in mind. Love is what gives you the energy in the good times and in the bad to stick with what your ideal is. So step 3 in making money your friend rather than your adversary is to take action. This is an obvious fact, but it's just like so many people have good intentions. My dad used to say the road to hell is paved with people with good intentions. Nothing happens until you take action. Okay? It's actions that bring your ideal into reality. So making money your friend rather than your adversary is having mentors or guides or coaches that have gone in this direction before, and it's enormously beneficial and helpful to us on our path. Making money your friend rather than your adversary, you've got to have the vision, the desire. You see, if it's your vision and if it's your ideal, then automatically you're going to have the motivation and desire. So if you aren't motivated and you aren't filled with passion and desire, the point is that you're not moving towards what you really, really want. You're not on the right direction or path for you. And obviously, with no action, there's no hope. Okay? So you're beginning to understand why only 4 to 5% of dentists really ever create wealth. I hope you're beginning to get that picture.
We could do one of these with some of our...
A wise man asks, what's the simple?
Ask them questions, and then they could start presenting. You know, we could. There's a lot of.
A wise man asks, what's the simple key to success and wealth? Know what you want and be willing to ask for it. Let me say that again. Know what you want and be willing to ask for it. Step 4 is to modify, change, or adapt to get what you want. None of us immediately starts out on the exact right path. I mean, the truth is that we'll do one step and we'll do another step. It may not be exactly perfect. And this is why in marketing, they say ready, fire, aim. In other words, this is life. It's not going to be exactly perfect on the first step out of the chute. But if we're moving towards what we want, we're going to be continually to modify, change it, adapt to get in the direction we want to go. And so the thing that I've discovered, and many other people have, you know, once you start moving to the direction that you want to go, we've all heard this adage, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. People come into your life that never would have come into your life before. You meet people, stuff happens that never would have happened to you in your life before. So it's equally important of what happens to you as you're creating wealth than it is the creation of the wealth itself. So this is why I've said for at least 30 years when I've lectured on profitability management, I've said set a goal to become a millionaire. Not as much for the million, but the person you will become in the process of moving toward it. So what happens when people move into a creative orientation? They're far more energized and excited about their life. They're learning things. They have new challenges. They have new goals. Their minds are actually expanding and growing rather than being minimized. So keep this in mind. You're going to meet people that you've never met before. You're going to meet wise, valuable, knowledgeable people that are going to come into your life that never would have before. You're going to be challenged on your path. And the challenges are what creates growth, and you evolve and become more of the person you've got the potential of becoming. So the 5th step is equally important. Once you've got it going, you want to sustain the momentum. So you remember that a lofty, difficult vision is an ideal, is lifetime work. Goal setting is part of the process of creating. Goal setting is not creating. The ideal comes first and the obvious goals are second, okay? And so when you achieve a goal, it's of vital importance to sit right down and write another goal, okay? So when you get in a creative orientation, think of an artist. Think of anyone who's creating something important, okay? They're never really done with it, okay? In other words, when you get in the creative process, you may create something, but boom, then there's something else that comes along that you want to create after that, okay? So the sustaining of momentum. My mom told me, she's one of I think my mother was by far my greatest coach, my greatest guide and mentor. And she said to me, these are her exact words, Michael, be sure that when you set a goal and complete it, that you sit right down and write another, or you'll just coast through life. So again, are you on the path? Are you on the road? Are you headed in a direction that you want to be headed? Are you headed towards a destination? So here's the question. Are your strategies and actions lined up with the destination of your choice? Are your strategies and actions lined up with the destination of your choice? Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the debt principle. If you're accumulating debt for things you want but can't write a check for, you can be sure you can be absolutely certain you're not on the path of creating wealth. So here's a rule of thumb. Limit your business debt to no more than 10% or less of your practice gross revenues for principal and interest. No more than 10% for principal and interest. Limit your personal debt to no more than 20% of your after-tax income for interest on all personal debt. Now, the savings principle. This is a simple one, but it's really difficult for people to get. And I say this because of lecturing on finance and investments, really since 1973, if you can believe it. Become a saver first and an investor second. Savers make good investors. But people that are trying to simply make a killing overnight, those are the people that never make it, okay? Always grow your income, but no matter what you make, even if your child goes out and babysits, teach them to save 10% to permanent savings. Teach them that lesson. It becomes a pattern. It becomes a lifetime habit. So, as I said before, save 10% of your gross income if you're self-employed. Save 10% of your tax income if you're not self-employed. So if you find that you have more debt, that over 20%, 10% in the practice, over 10% in the personal, then you need to start my 5-step plan for debt reduction, which is number 1, pay off all credit card debt. Number 2, pay off all consumer debt. This is personal. Number 3, pay off your house. Number 4, save 10% to permanent savings of gross revenues. Now, I would kick in saving 10% after I paid off credit debt and consumer debt. I wouldn't necessarily say you got to pay your house off before you do that. That's part of the plan. And number 5, create a no-lose conservative investment strategy. So keep this in mind. Debtors are not wealth creators. Debtors have a negative, combative, competitive, reactive relationship with money. Debtors don't create wealth. They create headaches, stress, negative emotions regarding money and life. So the investment principle then is only invest in those things that you have knowledge about. In other words, if you don't know about it, then you should not be investing in it. Have a simple, conservative investment strategy. And for us as dentists, I want to offer one other piece of advice here. If you can't make a living on a business or a dental practice that has revenues of potentially $1 million or more a year and a net income of $500,000 more a year, for God's sakes, don't go out and invest in a business that has a 10% margin of profit when yours has at least a 50% margin of profit, including your salary. Don't go in business with somebody else who doesn't have any money, because when the business goes broke, you're going to be the one that's going to be left with the debt. I see this happening every day. Do not invest with your brother-in-law, your sister-in-law, your son, or anyone else. Okay? So in the investment principle, you need to understand that your practice is the single most important investment you will ever have in your life. Nothing else that you will invest in will create the money and the profit that your practice will. Your practice is your oil well. And when you use proper business principles, as I've developed, your net income will increase $3 to $5 million in your lifetime of practice. Now, let me say that again. With proper business principles, your personal net income will increase $1 million for every 10 years you're in practice. There's no place else you have the opportunity to create the amount of wealth you can in your own practice. So it doesn't make any sense to run a practice and work hard and not be creating wealth and abundance and freedom in the process. It just doesn't make sense. And I know you know that. Remember, failing to run your life and practice with a wealth orientation is the cause of virtually all financial problems. Some people have a wealth orientation and others have a reactive orientation. So here's what nearly 40 years has taught me. The creative process is the most important and powerful process ever discovered to create wealth and freedom. The earlier you enter into the creative orientation, the more you're going to love your life and practice. Ask anyone who's been doing it for a couple years or more, and they will tell you, I would never go back to the way I was living and practicing before. The progressive development of a wealth consciousness involves practical mastery of these 5 important keys. As we talked about, the earnings principle is number 1. Okay? The golden rule. Okay? The second is the savings principle. Okay? Save 10% of what you make regardless of what you make. The debt principle is obvious. $1 of debt is $1 of potential profit. Okay? Period. I understand that you can deduct the interest, but you can only deduct 35% of it. So the basic says for every $100,000 you pay in interest, you throw $65,000 of it away forever. No matter what your accountants tell you, they are dead wrong about this. The spending principle is spend less than you make. Always spend less than you make. And the obvious investment principle, make it proven, make it simple, make it reliable, okay? So, I'd like to offer you an invitation, okay? I'd like to offer you an invitation to get on the path of wealth creation, or maybe even enhance that path and make it better. And as I said before, some are serious now, some will be serious later. This is kind of an age-relating thing, and some may never become serious. And my hope is that our time together will help you, as I said. So I'm going to offer you this opportunity to determine whether or not you're on the wealth path, how far along you are, and maybe if that can even be enhanced, okay? So the wealth potential profile will show you where you are on the path of wealth creation. And as I said before, we're not interested in wasting your time. We know that we can't help someone who isn't motivated. So if you'd like to complete a wealth creation profile with either Corbin or myself to determine where you're on the path, please respond yes to this, and we'll follow up with you and set a call, and we'll also walk you through the wealth creation profile so you'll know exactly where you are on it, how far along you are on it, and whether or not you're moving in the right direction. So I'd like to conclude this short webinar this morning and simply say I wish you all the blessings that a creative life and an abundant life brings to you and those you serve. Thanks for being here, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Michael.